Be a part of the best pro wrestling podcast today by supporting the Going In Raw Patreon. You can enjoy access to the live taping of the show, exclusive merchandise, and patron-only episodes, and so much more. Support Going In Raw today. Click the link in the description. Hey, friendo, Steve here.
And Larson.
And welcome to Going In Raw, the Dirt Sheet. The only place you need to be going for pro wrestling news through the week. We take it all. We cut out the bull crap, and then we put it here at youtube.com/Steven Larson.
Hold on.
Don't interrupt me. What?
There's one other place they can go for wrestling news during the week on Mondays.
Yeah, our Newsplex show. But I'm sure they're all subbed to this. You're always getting into a fight with your microphone.
Something.
It's always something. Yeah, that's right. Newsplex is our short weekend roundup that we do on Monday. And, but then the Dirt Sheet we do here on Fridays. And it's also available wherever fine podcasts are, including iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud.com/Steve Larson. Not Spotify. Not Spotify.
Yet.
I don't know when that's going to happen. Can we make it a goal? By WrestleMania? Can we have that?
Sure.
That'd be nice. I think that'd be good.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah, it'd be good.
So what are we going to talk about today, Steve? We're going to talk about what is Kenny Omega going to do?
Ooh, man.
So, following his fantastic, awesome,
amazing,
all-time great match against Okada at Wrestle Kingdom 11, he put out some tweets.
Yeah.
Kind of putting his future up in the air.
Yeah.
About as far as what he's going to do next.
Saying I'm going to step away from Japan.
Yes.
There's no plan in place. But then, in a subsequent interview he gave with who? I forget who that was with. We reported on it earlier.
Tokyo Sports.
With Tokyo Sports, he said essentially he was disappointed that he lost. Essentially, he made it sound like the entire thing was a work. He said he's going to come back, probably not at Fantastica Mania. Apparently, none of the Bullet Club are going to be at Fantastica Mania.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. And then he said maybe not New Beginning, which is the major show after that.
Right, exactly. So, it sounded like this was kind of a work, and nobody really knows what his contract status is like.
Yeah.
According to Meltzer, some people think
it expires at the end of this month, or he may have already re-signed.
Nobody knows.
Regardless, WWE is seemingly paying no mind to whatever potential contract is in play here.
They are courting the shit out of him.
Yes, because in a video that went up today
on Thursday,
Thursday when we're shooting this, it was a video about the 10.
It was the 10
surprise entrants wrestlers within WWE want to see in the Rumble. Correct?
Right. So they went around and talked to, like, the first one was The Miz, and he said, he said it was an actor of some sort.
Oh, I would have thought he would have said Daniel Bryan or something like that.
No, he said all these people are thinking too small, and I forget who he said, but it was ridiculous. It was a funny answer though. God, this bugs me now. Now I want to fucking know what he said.
Okay, but then Seth Rollins, who did he say?
He said Kenny Omega. He said this guy has a lot of buzz behind him. Kenny Omega, who wouldn't want to see him in the Royal Rumble? And it's like, woo! And on top of that, not only did he say that, Anderson and Gallows, when they were asked, they shouted out a couple more Bullet Club guys, Tama Tonga and Bad Luck Fale, and Anderson even said our old buddies in the Bullet Club. So WWE is not being shy about courting more members of Bullet Club, and especially the cleaner himself, Kenny Omega.
Yes. So Kenny Omega also appeared on Taz's podcast this week.
Yes.
For an interview, and he had a lot to say.
What did he have to say?
About a lot of things.
What did he have to say?
Regarding his contract, first of all, he didn't give any specifics about when that contract ended.
Right.
In any reference to what Meltzer said. But he had this to say. A couple guys were under unique deals. He was one of them. This is a quote. I was one of them. Even if I were under contract, I wouldn't be on the current New Japan tour, which is the Fantastica Mania tour. Just generally, Bullet Club guys aren't used there. It's essentially given me a time to be free. Right now, I'm free to make my own decisions, and I haven't really put out feelers to anyone, but I am accepting feelers and negotiating for the best scenario for me right now. So it almost sounds like based on that, he's not bound by anything.
That sounds like he is totally willing, ready, and able to engage in contract talks with anybody.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I don't know if that's. I mean, that to me doesn't sound like That doesn't sound like work to me.
Yeah.
That sounds like, you know.
That sounds more in tune to his tweets.
Right, I know, exactly. So, hold on a second. What the hell?
Why don't you go to their YouTube channel?
Well, it was on WWE.com.
Oh, did they take it down?
You would think this would be... Do you think they took that down?
No, I don't know. If you can't find it, that's the first thing I would think.
That would be crazy if they did that. So that's one aspect, is we don't know what his contract status is like. Now, Kenny Omega everybody seems to understand that Kenny Omega seems to be really vital to any chance New Japan has in perhaps establishing more of a presence here than what they currently have.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a moment.
Okay, all right.
That's a full story. There's a lot to get through in that story alone.
Guide me.
Kenny Omega continued during his appearance on Taz's podcast as far as what he's potentially looking for with his next contract. He says, "It's not so much a monetary figure I'm looking for. I really do want to change the business as much as I can in my own way, or at least do something with impact."
Yeah.
He goes on. He says, "I don't want to just take the payday and collect the check. While I'm still at least healthy, while I still have ideas in this crazy head of mine, I want to contribute. I want to do things that are going to make wrestling fans happy and make new people into wrestling fans that weren't wrestling fans before. I want to contribute in that manner. If a company..." This is the thing to pay attention to.
All right, money shot.
"If a company like WWE were willing to use me in that manner, if they had good ideas for me, and I had good ideas that jive with that, I would heavily consider it."
Ooh. So, I mean, and the funny thing is, that's saying nothing and that's saying a lot.
Yes.
Because he's been critical of the WWE in the past, in the recent past, when he said essentially he thinks that they're hiring people just to hire them, and that he'd like to be the legend who never went to the WWE. So in that respect, it's like he's playing hardball, but now it sounds like, you know, obviously what he said is what everybody would want. It's like, yeah, if the WWE is going to use me correctly, and, you know, they're going to pay him.
It seems like he's trying to find the company that allow him the platform to do what he wants to do. That's essentially what it comes down to.
I love this about him, is that he said recently, I think it was in a tweet when he was saying, you know, I appreciate everybody's response to Wrestle Kingdom. And he said, it allowed me to showcase my vision for wrestling.
Yes.
And I love that he said that word, vision for wrestling, because that, you know, if the WWE will, and we've gone back and forth on this, like when for example, we've talked about Broken Matt Hardy, in that he would obviously, that character of Broken Matt Hardy depends almost exclusively on him having creative control.
Yeah, on Matt Hardy's creative control, exactly.
Exactly. And we're sort of skeptical as to whether or not the WWE would ever say, you get essentially final cut on what you want to do, because we all know Vince will always have final cut on everything.
But then you hear stories about from CM Punk's documentary where they weren't really doing much with him. They didn't have anything planned for him. And so he said, according to CM Punk, he went off and wrote, 9 or 14 weeks of television?
I think it was 14 weeks of television.
14 weeks of television, went to Vince, and they did it. It was the Straight Edge Society angle, I believe.
Right, yeah.
So on one hand, Vince really, he seemed like a control freak. But it also seems like he appreciates, at least at times, when people take the initiative and bring him ideas. And I guess if he likes them, he'll go with them.
Yeah. Well, that's the big crux, though, because in the end, if you have a vision, it's one thing if you're like, at the time, it's not like CM Punk was doing much, and that's why he came up with that. You know, he said, they weren't doing anything with me. But to bring it, it's completely different when you're bringing in a guy like Kenny Omega, you know, who could arguably who could be immediately placed in your main event scene on either brand.
Oh, yeah.
Vince is going to want to have a hand in that.
Yes.
Probably, if for no other reason, to say, I had a hand in this. So whether his vision will mesh with Kenny Omega's vision, you know, that's a big story right there. Nobody knows, and Kenny Omega couldn't be positive that, you know, I mean, even like when Triple H says before anybody gets called up from NXT, he wants a 6-month plan for them.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Apollo Crews gets called up, and there's obviously no 6-month plan for him. So even Triple H can't control everything that happens in terms of how they use people.
Yeah.
And so with Kenny Omega, it has to be, man, the bottom line is I'm not going to have, Hulk Hogan WCW levels of creative control, which you would think he'd probably need to effectively carry out his vision. But at the same time, and if there's enough money and if there's enough respect there shown, then maybe it'd be worth it. I mean, all he has to do really is look at AJ Styles and say, they knew how to treat that guy right. I have no reason to believe they wouldn't know how to treat me right.
Yeah.
So
I think it's more probably than excuse me, just the creative control of his character. You see how he wrestles.
Yeah.
And it's at a far more frenetic pace than the traditional WWE style. So maybe it's partially how they handle his character, but also what they allow him to do in the ring.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
It would be fascinating to sit down with him and ask, what is that vision? Like what goes into what you feel is a 6-star match, And I would think that, like you just indicated, it would heavily be predicated not just on character, but on what kind of story he's allowed to tell in the ring via his moveset and the pace and everything. So, I mean, the WWE is making pains to go out and, they're doing the whole UK experiment. We might see some, not just some talent on WWE programming, but on the network bringing in different shows. But as we've seen with 205 Live, there still seems to be that one last hump of, are they going to or the hurdle, whatever you want to call it, are they going to let guys do what brought them to the game,
Or are they going to be forced to conform to wrestling a WWE style?
Right. So, and on top of that, there's the matter of, we've talked about this before, the WWE schedule doesn't allow people to put on those kind of matches because
every night,
they're doing it 250 days a year.
Yeah, 250 to 300 days a year.
Whereas in New Japan, I think it's, I know one of the Young Bucks tweeted out, like you mentioned the other day, I've worked 2 matches this month.
And got to spend 3 weeks with his family.
And I don't think Kenny Omega has a family, but, his moveset, the style of match that might be his vision of wrestling might not mesh with just the sheer number of days he has to work.
Yeah.
But it makes it really, really interesting. Now let's get to the next part of this.
Yeah, the next story, which kind of
dovetails
with the previous one.
By the way, I can't find. I'm going to go through while you're.
That's interesting. Maybe they did pull the video. Recently, New Japan Pro Wrestling executive Takai Kadani. Does that look right? Scroll down.
Yeah, okay. Takai Kadani.
Okay. Was recently interviewed by Shoe Pro and made some comments about New Japan's future.
Yeah.
Specifically in relation to how New Japan is trying to bring their product to America.
Yes.
And specifically, he says when asked what he can do to do that is, he says, is to create an American-based subsidiary of New Japan and run shows here in America.
Yeah.
In addition, is to produce television. This is all quotes. Sorry, this is all from Chris Charlton's Twitter.
Yeah.
He does a fantastic job of transcribing.
Right. Yeah,
a lot of interviews.
He does that a lot.
From
Did you say he has
New
like
Japan.
a book?
Yeah, he has a book called Lions. I say Lion's Pride.
Okay.
Could be wrong.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is all from his Twitter.
Right.
In addition, it is to produce television in line with our Japanese content that can be sold cheaply to American cable networks. And he mentions the deal with Access TV. But he says the most popular and visible networks have a high demand for volume of content available cheaply. And he continues that the New Japan obviously has very strong foundations in Japan, and over there the Japanese style of wrestling is in vogue. If we, New Japan, establish a territory in California, we'll be able to produce more content cheaply. It has to be localized. If you look at WWE with their show business base, they really only have a strong business in the UK, Canada, and America. They sell their programming elsewhere, sure, but they need to actually be doing business in those areas. Sort of like the UK tournament.
Yeah.
I said this on Twitter, but why do you think they're pushing people to network? It's because they know cable isn't going to be around forever, and they have to make up that loss. That's why they established the UK champion to set up the tournament. He continues, For WWE, it's vital they localize, partner with promotion, buy one outright, start a subsidiary, anything, but you get that going and you type the talent in that country.
Yeah.
Then that way you don't have to send a bunch of guys out from America every time. Production as well. It starts getting cheaper to do business. And the people in those countries now have a star of their own to support, and they might buy into their network. WWE have been poor at creating new stars, but that's a real way to do it, to think local.
Yeah. Now, this is
a really good interview, and this is all on Chris Charlton's Twitter. He does what these things called the moments with all the quotes, and we'll link to it in the description.
Now, I believe I didn't read it yet today, but I think Wrestling Observer also has a lot of thoughts on where New Japan should be going, not only in 2017 but 2018. But it definitely sounds like they are looking at. I mean, from what you just said, they are looking at the weaknesses of the WWE and trying to find a way to bring strengths to a possible American market for New Japan Wrestling.
Yeah.
Now, my thing is this: the way it sort of ties in with the Kenny Omega thing is, in my opinion, there is no better person, and this is, this has been said by both New Japan and Kenny, that Kenny Omega would be the perfect person to sort of be the face of New Japan should they decide to make inroads here in America for obvious reasons. I don't believe they really have anybody that would be even close to as effective as Kenny Omega in that respect. I don't. I mean, he's the guy who puts on the matches that are,
the best matches of the card.
Best matches of the card. Not only that, but he speaks fluent Japanese. He is truly like of both worlds as a wrestler.
Yeah.
And they don't have anybody else like that. I mean, especially because he's Canadian. So he appeals to the North American market. He's a guy that we can all see, and then he's the gateway to the wealth of talent that, don't speak the language as well as he does. And so that is such a vital key piece of their potential strategy to come here. And it seems like the WWE is trying to cut off the head of the snake. Yeah. They're trying to cut, because without that, I think it's a much more tough mountain to climb for New Japan without Kenny Omega. That's massive.
Yeah.
And it's kind of surprising that they would, we've seen this myriad times when promotions will put a belt on somebody. We saw Ring of Honor. They put the belt on Kyle O'Reilly, and then they took it off him because he decided not to re-sign. Mm-hmm. And you kind of think, did they put the belt on him to try to entice him to stay?
Yeah.
And you see this happen all the time.
Well, you can also say the same thing almost about Adam Cole, because his contract's up in May.
And potentially they put the title on him to, see if it'll entice him to stay. And we've seen this. WWE has done this. Yeah. WCW, everybody did it. And so it's kind of surprising that they wouldn't have the foresight. Maybe they think, hey, we're bigger than any one wrestler. But man, he's a big tool for them to use if they try to come out here. And it's interesting that WWE is basically throwing everything to try to cut that off, which is a smart business move if you view New Japan as your competition.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me that New Japan opted not to put the title on him and not to double down on whatever you want, we'll give you.
But maybe
and we have no idea if they haven't.
Yeah, and they could have a plan in place where prior to the shows they're having here in the States early July, maybe they put the belt on Omega right before that, have them come out with those shows. Yeah. And try to start the kickoff of their U.S. expansion then. And actually, there's a mention of this in this interview. Things start with the G1 special, which we announced will take place July 1st and 2nd. That won't include actual tournament matches, but we may hold qualifiers here in the States for the G1 tournament. Yeah. At that point, office staff will also be headed to the U.S. We will set up a dojo, likely with a monthly fee system. And as far as talent is concerned, from October of last year, we began signing wrestlers to long-term contracts, and this includes foreign wrestlers.
Yep.
So this is a plan they've at least started implementing. I assume this is October 2016.
Yeah. Now, he kind of downplays their presence on Access, probably because he understands that Access isn't really available.
Yes. I don't have it.
Yeah. I know that you can actually watch their stuff online. I think if you have, Shit, it might have even been for free. You might just have to like sign up or something. I don't know. But regardless, it's not, they take old stuff and they piece it back together, and they have Jim Ross doing commentary, which is great, and a waste of Jim Ross's talents.
There's one last thing here about expansion. Says, of course, there's a plan for progression. It starts with gradually increasing the number of towns we run in. Mm-hmm. At first, we'd be looking at 1,000-seat buildings. The important thing to growth is exposure of the talent, exposure to television.
Yeah,
it's a very different way of doing things than in Tokyo. I have talked with the talent about this, but at that point, it was less concrete than it is now. The plan is for things to really get going in 2018. So I wonder if the shows in Long Beach in July are to kind of get a barometer
right.
of the market for the New Japan product and to go from there.
Yeah.
Because I think they've announced that the shows are going to be at the Long Beach Convention Center, but that's the whole complex. I don't know if they mean the convention center itself or Long Beach Arena.
Yeah.
So that remains to be seen, the actual venue. If I remember correctly, the Long Beach Arena is a decent-sized place. It's much larger than 1,000 feet. Or sorry, 1,000 people. Sorry.
Okay, so I apologize. I've been staring down at my phone. They did indeed privatize the video.
Interesting.
So, wonder what that means. Breaking 24 hours ago.
I know.
I wish it was live.
I know.
Right now. So yeah, they did have that top 10 video, and then they privatized it. I was looking everywhere. I was looking at their YouTube channel. I looked at their website, and it was front page it was like front and center on both of those things. And then I finally found the link that somebody sent me, and it had been privatized. So I want to know that story now. So I'm going to get on the horn with Dave Meltzer and ask what's going on with that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, but Seth Rollins did say Kenny Omega. That's good. Oh man, that's funny.
So anyway, it's really interesting to see how extensively New Japan starts to expand.
And how WWE reacts to that, because we're already starting to see that. And you said this off camera. You said it's interesting that the new Monday Night Wars seems to be international.
And based on streaming and not on cable.
Yeah, I know.
It's really interesting.
This is really cool. Let's see here. Moving on to less awesome. Well, this is still pretty cool.
Yeah, this is awesome. What are you talking about?
It's awesome. It's just I thought it was going to be happening sooner. That's why I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Tell us what it is, Steve.
WWE Women's Tournament confirmed. According to the Wrestling Observer, Triple H was recently interviewed by the Wrestling Compadres podcast. Who are the Wrestling Compadres? Why are they getting Triple H? Why isn't anyone going in?
They're affiliated with Fox Sports.
Oh, okay.
So they have money behind them.
They got money stuff behind them. Gee willikers. What are their numbers like on iTunes? Sports and Rec category.
Well, while you look that up, I'll continue reading this.
Anyways, they confirmed that a women's tournament would possibly happen this summer.
According to that interview, and then I guess earlier this year or late last year, Dave Meltzer reported in the Wrestling Observer that initially the women's tournament was possibly going to happen in May.
Oh, okay.
But based on what Triple H had to say, made it sound like it was going to be further in the summer. I wonder if it happened in August, because he talks about how, in the same interview, how the timing of things is what's affecting the scheduling. With additional pay-per-views thanks to the brand split and so on. He also mentions how things are constantly changing in WWE.
Yeah.
But he said
Vincent's constantly waking up.
I know. And he spoke about how January was advantageous for the UK tournament because there's only one pay-per-view. So you could schedule that towards the middle of the month, and then the Rumble, of course, is the last weekend of January.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're looking for the summer.
Yeah.
If August would be a possibility, since SummerSlam is the only pay-per-view that month.
Right.
Although it's kind of in the middle of the month. I think it's on the 20th this year.
Oh, okay.
So if they did beginning of August or end of August, maybe.
I don't know. It just kind of, to me, I don't know. It kind of sucks because it's like, Vince wakes up, hears about ITV, World of Sport, and he's like, let's do a UK tournament. When I thought the women's tournament was supposed to be towards the beginning of the year. Like, that's originally what they were sort of looking at. And then that threw everything out of whack, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, but I thought we were going to do the women's tournament. They're women! Give me the bruiserweights! Vince, you see what they're... Vince, can you put some pants on, please? We're currently fading. Hopefully, our dirt sheet will help us, but we're at number 142. I don't see Wrestling Compadres anywhere on in the sports and rec category. Maybe they're in lifestyle or some shit. I don't know.
Could be.
Anyways,
I'm looking forward to this women's
Triple
tournament.
H really wants to get his word out. He'll come to the Going in Raw.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this women's tournament based on the success.
Oh yeah, me too.
Of the Cruiserweight Classic, which the tournament itself was fantastic.
Oh yeah, it was great.
The UK tournament, fantastic.
Oh, are you kidding me?
So
yeah,
I'm curious which route they would take in terms of the actual programming of it. Would they do the several weeks of the Cruiserweight Classic, or would they do the 2-day live?
What did you prefer?
I mean, I feel like with the Cruiserweight Classic, spacing things out gave an opportunity to really, really book individual matches really well.
That's true, yeah.
Not that the matches at the UK tournament weren't booked well.
Yeah.
But it allowed the wrestlers to really work with each other and
figure
out how to best pace the match and all that stuff.
I kind of preferred the UK tournament just because it feels like
there's urgency to that format.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
it
I understand
feels like
that too.
more of it's this event and it's happening in a very short span of time, and so everybody can there's more. I feel like it just has more buzz about it. But then the Cruiserweight Classic also, you had more time to digest the matches and talk about them. So yeah. Should be cool though. I'm looking forward to it. I want them to get like all new faces that we haven't seen before, and I think that's what they're going to do.
Then by the sounds of it, he said they're going to scour the globe.
Scour the globe, yeah, exactly. Hey, we're going to scour the globe.
I wonder if they're going to try to entice some prominent women wrestling in the independent scene. Like, are they going to try to get Candice LeRae involved?
You would think. I mean, honestly, there isn't. You don't hear as much. They just don't get the same kind of press that the guys do, the fellas do, and so you would think that they would, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she's married to Johnny Gargano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you think she'd be a shoo-in to win the damn thing?
Yeah.
Gargano and Ciampa, man, they need to go to Maine. I don't want them anywhere near the Cruiserweight. Like the what we talked about on the 205 Live recap yesterday. I don't want them anywhere near the Cruiserweight division. I don't want that.
They'd be great as a tag team on either Raw.
Is Ciampa even a Cruiserweight?
Yeah.
How tall is he?
I don't know. Look it up.
Yeah.
Thomas Ciampa.
I've been looking too stuff up.
I'll look it up.
All right, I'll get to questions. We're going to answer some questions. Sofa King Cole Dowd. 2 possible scenarios. What if, when Undertaker decides to retire at WrestleMania, he wins the Universal title and it retires with him?
Sorry. Tommaso Ciampa's billed at 5'11", 201.
Man, see, I would have thought the Psycho Killer would be at least 6'2".
I think Johnny Gargano is really short.
I think he's probably
about 5'8".
Okay.
Wait, sorry?
If the Undertaker decides to retire at WrestleMania, he wins the Universal title and retires with him. That's not going to happen.
No. Well, he says something about how
he says he noticed more than less that fans don't hold this belt in high regard.
That's more of a booking issue.
That's a booking issue. You put that. You bring AJ Styles over to Raw, give him the Universal title, or even bring when Finn Balor comes back. If he gets the title, it'll be gold.
Sorry, Johnny Gargano's billed at 5'10", so only an inch shorter.
Oh, okay.
He seems smaller.
He does. That's posture.
Could be.
Ciampa carries himself like that. I've always noticed Gargano. It's kind of like this.
Yeah.
He has like his shoulders. He puts them in.
Yeah.
Anyways.
The mediocre 7 CB Skinner.
Skinner!
With Styles threatening to leave and take the championship with him to Japan, do you think Vince would ever be okay with his belt showing up somewhere else? No, he would never be okay with that.
Superintendent Chalmers is like one of my favorite Simpsons characters.
Yeah.
Aurora Borealis. In this part of the world, at this time of the year, exclusively in your living room. Sorry. I love that quote. What?
With Styles threatening to leave and take the championship with him to Japan.
I don't think so.
No, that'll never happen under Vince's watch.
I don't think so. Under Triple H's watch?
It's more likely, but still highly doubtful.
Yeah.
How awesome would it have been when CM Punk won the belt and in storyline didn't have a contract if he started showing up all over the world defending the WWE title? That'd have been fantastic.
I know, but here's the thing. Like you said, under Vince's watch and under Triple H's watch, that UK title is probably going to be defended in ICW and a couple different places.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's something we can't see. Now, if WWE starts poaching New Japan, like if they keep on poaching New Japan, they're not going to let them wrestle in New Japan. Let's see here. But if they really want to fuck with them, they'll send them to All Japan.
Yeah.
Or Pro Wrestling Noah, something like that.
DDT Pro.
There you go.
I think Pro Wrestling Noah is owned by New Japan.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where Suzuki Gun was, too.
So DDT Pro.
I'm still figuring out the lay of the land here on Going in Raw.
Me too.
It's not called Going in New Year's Dash. It's Going in Raw. The original Caffeinator asks, what would you think of adding an option to Money in the Bank, to the Money in the Bank briefcase, where the winner could cash it in for a title shot or use it to re-enter the Rumble if they end up. I like that. The Money in the Bank lets you do whatever you want to do, essentially. You get one thing. You get one shot.
What if you just want to cut into the front of the catering line? Could you cash in your Money in the Bank contract
yes.
and do that?
That'd be horrible. That'd be a horribly stupid thing to
if
do.
You're really hungry.
But
could you cash it in and then like borrow John Cena's bus for a month?
Yes.
That would be a worthwhile investment.
Could you just cash it in for money? Money in the Bank. Like, can you just be like, is this worth like $1 million?
But say, it's supposed to have a contract inside.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the contract's just paper. That's not worth anything.
No, of course not.
So you'd just be cashing it in
for
the
magic on the paper.
No, you'd be cashing it in for the cash value of the briefcase.
No, man, because winning the title has to come with some sort of fake bonus to it. There's got to be some sort of kayfabe. It's more money.
But that's winning the title. Having a briefcase that holds a contract for a match for the title isn't the same as winning.
Well, okay, then I would say 50% of a title bonus because you essentially have a 50.
You're complicating things way too much.
Am I? Okay.
Cash value of the briefcase.
That's horrible. They sell those things for like what, $70?
Yeah,
that's horrible.
That's like food for one road trip.
Maybe
if you're eating Chipotle.
Some of the NXT dudes aren't getting paid very much, so maybe $70 is about how much a title shot's worth. The Great Ramrod, first time patron. Thank you, Great Ramrod.
Thank you very much.
You guys have been crucial in my reintroduction to wrestling. I always love when I hear that. I love when people say, I wasn't into wrestling, but now I get to listen to it with you guys. It's cool. I grew up watching WWC and IWA in the last remaining territory of Puerto Rico. Along that vein, with the Cruiserweight and UK tournaments being a success, do you see the WWE expanding their reach and pushing similar formats down south for network, i.e. Lucha Libre? I read something. I thought they were doing some preliminary looking
for like
into
a Central America,
Mexico. They're looking at encroach in CMLL's territory
in AAA.
AAA,
yeah.
So I could definitely see it going to Japan. I could definitely see it going to Mexico.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And based on how it'll be interesting to see how they jump off from the UK tournament in terms of developing original programming and whether that's creating their own kind of sub promotion in the UK that's WWE branded or just kind of co-opting Progress in IWC, right?
ICW.
Sorry, ICW.
Yeah, we're the IWC.
That's right. Sorry. And having their content on the network, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Because they might be able to do that in England, but if they try to go to Japan, who knows if any of the promotions there will be willing to align themselves with WWE.
I know. It's going to be very interesting in the next 24 months.
Yeah.
Tommy Lyons, first-time patron.
Thank you very much,
Tommy. I really love Steve's impressions, especially Mr. McMahon. If you were Vince, which superstar who has not seen much TV time would you push and why? Who would you have him or her feud with?
Remember, you're Vince. This isn't Steve answering this question or Larson. This is Vince.
I'll tell you what. You know who doesn't get enough TV time? Roman Reigns. Push him more.
Monday Night Reigns.
He's above brands.
Ooh.
Because he could be on both SmackDown and Raw. No longer will you see cartoon characters here on Raw. Now it's exclusively Roman Reigns. The new era.
The Reigns era.
The Reigns era starts now. We're not going to insult your intelligence. That's my favorite Vince promo.
Oh, I know.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb. Just do it, Vince. You don't need to tell us.
I know.
Nobody cares. Nobody even knows what you're talking about. What the fuck is this guy talking about? Anyways,
you're Vince.
Yeah.
What's someone that's underutilized that you would push if you were Vince?
Look, man, anybody who Vince thinks is underutilized are getting pushed right now. If I was Vince...
Titus O'Neil.
No, are you kidding me? He touched my hand. He touched my sleeve. No, he's fired.
He served a suspension.
Fired.
Titus O'Neil, that's my answer.
Well, I'd love to say that too. He's still getting punished, though. He's getting plenty of TV time, though. I don't know. I think there's a lot of money to be made in Sami Zayn. Can't be punishing him, but that might be the case also.
Yeah.
All right. The South Texas Tiger, Dan Cannon. Hi.
Hey, friendos.
Hi, Dan Cannon.
Which wrestlers would you ask to help you move if you knew them personally?
Oh, what a great question.
This is a great question. He bets Braun would put my futon couch on his shoulder and carry it with ease until he runs it into a turnbuckle somewhere.
Where do you want this futon, Dan Cannon?
Are you in agreement with me that you would only ask one of your better friends to help you move? So I always go back to that episode of Seinfeld.
Oh, for sure. I would never ask an acquaintance to help me.
Yeah,
move.
it's like like if you pick someone up from the airport, you need someone to pick you up from the airport.
To be frank, these days,
you go to one of your better friends.
These days, I almost exclusively ask my dad, and I feel terrible about that because he's super old. But he's still like built like a fucking. My dad's a big dude. I mean, yeah, Braun is like the obvious answer. Braun. I could see Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. They look like a moving company.
Mm-hmm.
The Wyatt family look like a moving company.
They do.
Yeah, the Randy Orton shows up at your door. Hey, so I hear you got a couple couches
The
here.
voices in my head are telling me you got some furniture to move.
Oh God, RKO Moving Company out of nowhere.
There you go. We'll move you out of nowhere. Yeah.
We'll move you out of nowhere. We'll move you out of Baby Orton, go pick up that couch. Goo goo gaga. Starting to cross our jokes over. Jordan Galdiano. Could you see WWE having Samoa Joe or AJ Styles induct Kurt Angle? They carried TNA.
I think for that reason that wouldn't happen.
That's exactly right.
He said on was it on ESPN or an interview or something that Angle said that the first name that popped in his head was Stone Cold.
Oh, really? Okay.
To induct him.
Somebody on Twitter said Edge and Christian would be good. But wait, I forget. Do you have to be in the hall to induct somebody?
I don't think so.
It doesn't work that way. Okay.
I don't think so.
And then there's also the possibility they've been throwing Christian's name around this year.
Oh yeah.
And so Edge will definitely induct him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Could Edge wait, does the headliner go first or last?
Last.
So here's the deal. It's like the Royal Rumble. If you lose your title, you hop into the Rumble. Edge inducts Christian. Now Christian's in. He inducts Kurt Angle. Him and Edge induct Kurt Angle together.
I like Stone Cold inducting him more.
What? I know, but he had the thing with he was closer in kayfabe to Edge and Christian.
I understand.
What?
But if Angle says the first name that he thought of was Stone Cold, who am I to argue? It
That's
was
a
also
good
my
point.
idea. That's the first name that popped in my head.
That's a good point.
I like that I'm in agreement in this issue with
I
Kurt
wish
Angle.
somebody would say Vince McMahon. I want Vince himself.
He's inducted somebody.
Who's he inducted?
Stone Cold.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. What if they had like Michael Hayes induct Kurt Angle? He's like, why would you do
You
that?
just want Michael Hayes on the TV all the time.
Do you blame me? Who's Michael Hayes going to induct this year? That's what I want to know. There's got to be somebody that he's going to induct. Man, I got to go back and watch his Freebird speech because he just kept on talking and talking. It was great. Love Michael Hayes. Man, I started to watch that JBL Legends with Booker T last night. It's like a two-parter.
Oh yeah.
Man, that dude had a freaking life. His parents died when he was like super young. I think his mom died when he was like 13 or something, and his dad died when he was like 10 months old. And so like it was like literally him and like his brother. He was like 13 and living in his house, like, and then like they started shutting the power off and stuff. Yeah, man, it was freaking horrible. But yeah, good for him getting out of that.
Yeah,
he was getting all teary eyed when he was talking about Stevie Ray because he's like, yeah, if it wasn't for him, I would have lost custody of my son and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it was like just, like you want a heartwarming story, if you want like a real freaking awesome story, watch that Legends with Booker T.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
We have some video questions,
We
Larson.
do. Shall we answer them?
Well, first of all, if you guys want your own video question answered on the show, our Patreon at patreon.com/Stephen Larson offers a reward tier of $20 a month, and you get some space, some limited space here on Going In Raw. Glorious Bill is the new patron video question submitter. We're going to see what he has to say.
Yeah.
Hey friendos, Glorious Bill here. New Patreon, by the way, from Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Let's say there was a special crossover pay-per-view between TNA, WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Ring of Honor. Let's call it Ring of Total Non-Stop Japan Wrestling Entertainment. Horrible name. But you guys can book all the matches. What the matches will be. What the matches will be. What are the matches going to be?
Thank you, Glorious Bill.
Thank you, sir.
So if there was to be a cross-promotional pay-per-view between all the major promotions, what would be the card?
All right, so I like this here. Let's do, first of all, obviously, Broken Matt Hardy versus Bray Wyatt.
You'd rather have that than Young Bucks versus the Broken Hardys? I know we're getting that in Ring of Honor, but why not have that?
We're getting that already, man. We're
a
getting
huge cross-promotional pay-per-view event.
Well, look, if we're gonna do, it would have to be how about this? For the tag team match, let's get the Young Bucks Let's get. If that was the case, I would want to see this. Hold on, let me think about this. I would rather see this. I would rather see because they hyped it so much. The New Day versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega.
Okay.
Kind of a waste of Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
We'll plop Adam Cole in there instead.
There you go. The Super Click.
The Super Click, exactly. He's sort of the.
There you go.
In which case, it would lead to Kenny Omega versus.
Kenny Omega.
It'd have to be AJ, right?
Versus AJ.
Versus Finn. Triple threat.
Yeah.
God, who wouldn't want that? Then you get, I'd say Broken Matt. Anybody else for Broken Matt Hardy?
Other than Bray, you can do Broken Matt Hardy with anybody pretty much.
What about let's look at the Hardys. Is there anybody else in the WWE? What about the Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero versus who in the WWE?
They'd be good against the Wyatt family.
Oh yeah. It could just be the Wyatt family, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good.
What about Okada versus Randy Orton?
I like that. Tanahashi versus Cena.
Yeah.
They're kind of samesies.
Naito
versus what about Naito versus Ty Dillinger? I don't know who else do we like in WWE. Who do we really like?
Kevin Owens or Seth Rollins.
Oh, there you go. Seth Rollins. There you go. Perfect. I draw a blank. Who would Silas Young face? That's kind of the most important question.
That is a very important question.
Silas Young
versus.
I want to see him versus Titus O'Neil. I want to see that. That's an odd mix right there.
It is.
I want to see them as a tag team. That'd be great.
Who is Jay Lethal going to wrestle?
He'll take on who's been around a while? Who's been around?
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. There. No, I want Jay Lethal versus I don't know who's been in the
Miz.
The Miz. There you go. Perfect. The Miz.
Who's Roman Reigns going to wrestle?
Nobody.
Reigns versus Lashley.
Reigns versus Lashley versus Michael Elgin.
There you go.
It's all good stuff. We got another question here from Patrick Sparks.
Yes.
Let's see what Patrick has to say.
Hey, friendos, Pat here. So, it's currently 6 o'clock in the morning. Just got to work. And I got a question for you. With Kurt Angle being inducted into the Hall of Fame, it got me thinking. The other day, you guys said that Kurt Angle was ready for prime time as soon as he showed up, which I agree with completely. Kurt Angle is so good. He's one of my favorite wrestlers ever. Top 5 at least. With that being said, how do you think Kurt Angle's career would have been different if on the night he showed up to ECW, the infamous crucifixion angle didn't happen and Kurt Angle didn't get royally pissed and not want his name associated with that business at all? What would have happened if Kurt Angle signed with ECW that night? How do you think it would have changed his career? Thanks, friendos. Bye.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick. This is a great question.
It is a good question. I think in the end, it wouldn't have mattered. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, okay, let's just set it up real quick because he didn't really say what happened. So before Kurt Angle ever signed to WWE or WWF at the time, he was sort of scouting promotions.
Yes.
And he was, I think, invited or went to an ECW show to take a look and say, oh, what's all this about? Maybe I'll go with ECW. They seem to be doing some good things. And, Kurt Angle is a man of God.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the night that Raven crucified the Sandman or the other way around?
I think it was, how you said it was right.
Okay. And Kurt Angle was so appalled that he GTFO'd out of there. He got out of there. He left. He was like, this is booty.
I believe that was in 96?
I want to say 97, but it could have been 96.
96 or 97, yeah.
Okay. And because what year did he debut? He debuted in 98.
99.
99?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think it was 97. Anyways. So, yeah, and Paul Heyman was saying, "No, I didn't know it was going to happen. Didn't know it was going to happen." Sure you did. Of course you did, Paul. Kurt Angle, I think, even said, "You're lying."
Yeah. That sounds right.
That's integrity right there.
Yes.
And intelligence and probably some intensity.
Yeah, that was all 3 eyes.
It's all 3 eyes, that incident. And so
So obviously, Kurt Angle did not go to ECW. He instead went to WWF.
Yeah. But if let's say he went to ECW and he was like totally like they didn't do the crucifixion thing and he was like totally cool with it.
I kind of feel like he still would end up in WWF in '99 or 2000.
I think it probably would have been the exact same
He
thing.
just would have had a lot more mileage on him, wrestling wise.
He would have had more mileage on him. He probably would have had more of a brand name though. Also,
Oh, yeah.
he would have had like.
But he
people
shot to the top so quick.
He was immediately like, yeah,
One of the best things in WWF.
one of
when
the
he debuted.
best things. He really was. Like there was no. So I honestly, yeah, you would have had more mileage on him. I don't think it would have mattered. He would have been even better when he immediately came in.
Yeah.
You know, which would have been like, I don't know how he was so polished.
I know.
So polished already.
I know.
He was immediately in Terry Taylor's polishing class. Finishing class, whatever. It's finishing and polishing, right?
Well, I think they're synonymous.
Oh, okay. And then what's the second to last one called?
I don't think it has a name. At least not in that report that Meltzer had last week.
There's no known public name for second to last class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's something that's not quite finishing?
But it's close to being finishing.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do right before you start to finish something?
You do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Doing it, class. You're doing it. Who teaches that class again?
We don't know.
You don't know anything about that class.
Don't know anything about that class.
Well, speculate. Who do you think teaches it?
Well, who are the instructors there? There's Matt Bloom. He's the head instructor.
And then there's
Robbie Brookside.
Brookside.
And I think, what's his name? Saint.
What about Adam Pearce? No, he's a road agent now, or he's an agent now.
Yeah, wasn't is it Jimmy Saint or Johnny Saint, the British wrestler? He's
that
an
I don't
instructor
know.
there now.
They got a lot of British guys there.
And then there's still HBK may or may not be an instructor there. I'm not
HBK
sure.
is not teaching no second to last class. You kidding me?
So maybe it's Robbie Brookside.
Okay, let's say it's Robbie Brookside.
Okay.
Welcome to Robbie Brookside's second to last class. Not quite
No,
finished.
doing it class. Johnny Saint. Sorry, Johnny Saint.
Doing it class. Hold on, you're not quite finished. Not quite there yet, class. Revival, why are you still here? I don't know.
We're here to help out.
Because we're the
Not
top.
quite finished yet.
We're the top. We're not quite finished.
But we're top guys.
We're not quite finished helping out yet. Anyways, we're off the rails right now.
Yeah.
That's it for Dirt Cheap. You got anything else?
No.
No, that's
That
it.
seems
All right.
good.
All right. Well, until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.